Our discussion with Cosatu President Stumo Dlamini. Mr. Dlamini, before the break, you said that it was Mr. Vavi's right to decline nomination because that is how you understood the resolution. What I find interesting is that prior to your last conference, Congress, Cosatu Congress, before that, Mr. Vavi actually indicated that he would be standing for the ANC's national executive if nominated. The Political Commission of Cosatu agrees that he should go, and then he withdraws. I know you can't speak for Mr. Vavi, but certainly as part of a leadership collective, how do you understand the change?
Look, it's true what you are saying. I can't speak for him, but I can speak on a position of the organization, even if it is about him, because that's speaking on that issue. And indeed, you would be correct to say he said what he said at the previous Congress of Cosatu, at the end of that Congress, when he said he was available to be nominated in the NEC of the ANC. Then there was a discussion within the Federation about him making that particular pronouncement at the end of the Congress. That was not in order. He was corrected and he accepted the correction. So that's why I say, when then he expresses, after a decision has been taken by the organization, his personal view, the organization has got to say, what is it that stands? Is it a personal view or an organizational decision? And which one do we go by? We go by an organizational decision, and at the latest instance, he was in the list of the comrades that Cosatu's leadership and Cosatu members were saying should stand and make themselves available for nominations in the National Executive Committee of the ANC. That's an organizational position. It is even an organizational process and position when a comrade within that process then declines nomination, not doing it outside the process. Because should he have then said, no, and call a media conference and say, I'm declining nomination, it would have been out of order. But he says it in the conference of the ANC when he is given an opportunity to confirm whether he is available or not, which was not out of order.
Mm-hmm. In terms of the newspaper reports that have recently come about, Cosatu's investment arm, Kopano Kematla, has been stripped of its license to do business as an organization or as an institution that renders financial services on the grounds that it has not constituted a proper board meeting for a very long time. Does it concern you, Mr. Dlamini, particularly given Cosatu's stance against corruption, that an investment arm of Cosatu does not comply with the Companies Act, is clearly in violation of the Companies Act and had its license provoked? 700 million rand of worker pensions are potentially at stake. Why has it come to this, and how did you not know that the board wasn't properly constituted?
Yeah, look, that matter is of grave concern to Cosatu, to the leadership. If we ask specifically to the president of Cosatu, it's a matter of great concern. And indeed, I can assure you that we have been taken aback when this matter came to us. You would know that it just came out of an article by another newspaper, and it confronted us at the media conference that very same day, when we had no opportunity, one, to know that Cosatu's investments license has been withdrawn by the FSB. Now, we said, let us investigate this matter.
What have you found?
Look, that process is still unfolding. We've written to the director or the CEO of the FSB to come with this information. We've summoned the CEO of Kopano for him to come to explain. That process is what is unfolding. And again, it's a process you wouldn't want to venture into at the moment and say, what is it we are finding? Because it is inconclusive, it is not complete. But it is a matter of great concern that particularly when it is affecting Cosatu, the only hope of the workers in this country to be affected by this issue.
Now, if the license of Kopano was withdrawn by the Financial Services Board, explain to me how Kopano as a legal entity was able to sell off the old building of Cosatu and acquire the new building. What about how Kopano functions made it able to enact that transaction? Surely if Kopano's board was not sitting as it should, it can't be acquiring and disposing of assets.
Look, I will repeat, as we stand now, we don't know whether that license has been withdrawn or not. It is what has come up
But the FSB
media.
confirmed to the Sowetan that the license was in fact withdrawn.
To the Sowetan, not to us. We're in a process to engage with them. Should it be that that has happened, those questions we are raising indeed flow and follow to be asked and be answered to, because if there is a decision that Kopano would have made when it was not licensed to make that decision, the question of the legality of this decision arises. So we will cross that one as we go through our process of finding out what has happened.
With respect, Mr. Dlamini, I understand that processes are needed, but this is not the first time that Kopano Kematla is found to be in a situation that the Cosatu leadership cannot explain. There was the issue of the e-tolls that a construction company involving Cosatu were involved. You have made the e-tolls a rallying call in terms of stuff that you've, government plans that you've disagreed with. There was the issue around Kopano Kematla and their involvement in Top TV and the acquisition of an adult entertainment channel. This is now the third time that your investment arm is implicated. How does the leadership of Cosatu explain its own ignorance about what its investment arm does?
Well, firstly, a small correction. The company that would have been involved in the e-toll, a company called Rubex, which is not a Cosatu investment or is not a Kopano company. It's a company with which there was a relationship in terms of a joint venture or working together, and not on the issue of the e-tolling. It is that company that had made a bid to participate in the Gauteng roads improvements. Just that small correction, but it doesn't make us to escape the question we are raising. The question we are raising is critical because it says if Cosatu is on a campaign against the e-tolls in the country, can Cosatu be seen to be working together with people who support and stand to benefit in the construction of the freeways? That's the question. And indeed, having gone back when that matter came up, and we are correct, it came out as a shock. We were not aware. We went back to ask the questions and clarified that particular issue, that Cosatu cannot be involved with somebody who is standing on the issue that we want to be moved away. Now, coming closer to then the question whether does it then mean the leadership omitted or were sleeping on duty when these matters were happening? I think that question is critical, but I would appeal to the public and to the media to ask that question when we have a concluded process that
So
says...
are you saying that this matter is part of what the probe is looking at?
It has to be looked at.
What kind of time frames are we looking at? When is this probe going to be concluded? Because surely Cosatu has lots to answer for publicly, both to its members, but also to the broader public, particularly given your stance against corruption.
Precisely because of the interest our members have on the issue. We have agreed in the last Central Executive Committee that this process must be concluded by this month of June, so that we convene a CEC in July and it receives a report.
Mm-hmm. Just a final question, Mr. Dlamini, because we're running out of time. We've seen the debates in the National Assembly within the ANC around the issue of labour brokers and, of course, also strike ballots and so on. We've seen ANC MPs come out in support of your call that amounts to a complete ban on labour brokers. Is this something that you welcome? Is this something that you expected, given the fact that the ANC didn't actually formally take a resolution at Mangaung nor Polokwane to ban labour brokers?
Look, I think it's still too early in the day.
Yeah, because the vote hasn't been concluded.
Yes, we should be able to say at the end of the day, has the vote decided precisely? And if it does that, which is what we hope it will do, we will be the most happy people. And I will remind everybody that I've spoken to before to say, why don't you appreciate that the engagements within the alliance can yield these results?
Okay.
Why don't you appreciate that this can happen? So we're looking forward to the end of the debate today.
Yeah, I did say I was going to, that was the last question, but I'll slip another one in. It appears we have time. The elections are around the corner. NUMSA has already said that it will not unconditionally back the ANC in an election campaign. It wants certain things from the organization. As president of Cosatu, are you going to be throwing your weight behind the ANC unconditionally, or are you putting down certain non-negotiables?
Look, the weight of Cosatu's position would always weigh against individual affiliates of the federation. And indeed, we have a Congress position on this matter. And fortunately, we just went through this discussion in the past week to conclude our approach even to the elections of the ANC.
In short, are you going to give your backing?
We will give the backing to the ANC as we have done many
Unconditionally?
We will give our backing to the ANC as we have done before.